I am very grateful that we live in an era where overpowered guns can be patched up relatively quickly, but that also means there's tons of versions of guns throughout COD history that they don't exist anymore. What is up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos. Welcome back to the COD History series. Today, we're talking about 20 of the best pre-patch guns in Call of Duty. These are the guns that were amazing when we first used them, but they had to be patched out for one reason or another, and they left us with a weaker version of the monster that used to exist. And just to be clear, we will not be talking about guns that were bugged, meaning the Proteus from Infinite Warfare and the AS Val from Modern Warfare 2019 will not be on this list. Those guns were amazing because they were literally broken. This list is dedicated to the guns that worked as intended and were amazing before the developers stepped in and ruined our fun. So let me know in the comments what your favorite pre-patch gun in COD history is. Drop a like. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Take advantage of that PS5 giveaway that is pinned below in the comments. Fully free to enter. Somebody's winning a PS5 at 2.8 million subs. At number 20 today is the Kar 98K in COD World War II. The bolt-action sniper that was easily the best in his class when COD World War II came out, due to the fact that it had handling speeds that were insane. Had a super generous one-shot kill range. It was amazing for aggressive quick scoping as well as more slow-paced, methodical hard scoping, which meant that it completely invalidated the other bolts in the game. Sledgehammer eventually decided it was a little too versatile. They made some changes. They tweaked it, the handling, the fire rate, and even though it was still strong, it was not nearly as good as it once was. It's a good way to kick off today's list. At number 19, the FFAR in Black Ops Cold War. Now, it's appeared a handful of times throughout the more recent Black Ops games, and it's meant to be the new universe's equivalent of the classic FAMAS. The Black Ops Cold War FFAR did a great job of making you feel like you were using the classic Black Ops 1 FAMAS. Pretty tough grind to unlock, which made it all the more satisfying when you finally got your hands on it, but unfortunately, the fun didn't last long. Because Treyarch felt that the FFAR was a little too good. They hit it with a nerf hammer hard. Future patches seemed to backtrack on the nerf and make it a little better, but it never came close to that original version of the gun that was in the game at launch, which was a shame. Like I said, it really did feel like the Black Ops 1 FAMAS when the game came out. At number 18, the M8A1 in Black Ops 2. Did you guys know this gun was nerfed? Did you? You probably wouldn't have guessed that unless you were literally playing Black Ops 2 when it happened, but for the first couple months of Black Ops 2's life cycle, it was the gun. It had a ridiculous 3-shot kill range. Treyarch stepped in, nerfed it pretty hard for the sake of balancing, and obviously the gun remained a top tier pick in both casual and competitive, but if you're an old school player like me, you might remember how much better it was during the first month. If you never got a chance to use it before the patch, then just use your imagination. After the nerf, the 3-shot kill range on this thing was pretty small, but the OG version could land 3-shot kills all the way up to mid-range. At number 17, the Titan in Black Ops 4. Now, Black Ops 4 had a pretty decent gun balance repertoire when it came out, but the Titan was the major exception, just due to the fact that it was amazing in basically every scenario, and it was an LMG. The fire rate may have been on the slower side, but that damage per shot was really good, and the recoil was very easy to control. Plus, with a few attachments, it could shred through walls like paper, even blow up UAVs and helicopters with a handful of bullets. Treyarch waited a few months to patch this thing out, and it remained a powerful LMG after it was nerfed, but the original version of the Titan, man, it was S tier. Nobody could deny it. If you were on Black Ops 4 servers during the first couple months, you know what I'm talking about. At number 16, the Vesper in Black Ops 3. Now, if you were playing Black Ops 3 through the life cycle, you probably remember the Vesper being constantly buffed and nerfed over and over again. But with how many of you out there, how many remember the version that was in the game on launch day? That one was crazy. Super high fire rate, very manageable recoil. It was like the Scorpion Evo, but with a more competitive skill set at mid-range. Obviously, the day one version of the Vesper didn't last very long, but if you got a chance to use it, it was super fun while it lasted. At number 15. The AEK 973 in Black Ops 6. What a name, right? This 3-round burst rifle had a pretty impressive time to kill on launch day, but you had to be patient because of that low fire rate until you unlocked the rapid fire attachment. The rapid fire AEK was arguably the best gun in Black Ops 6 for the first few weeks, and once people started sharing YouTube videos and TikToks of their broken gunsmith builds, it totally took over the kill feed of every multiplayer match. Treyarch jumped into action. They nerfed the heck out of the rapid fire attachment, which made the AEK more of a precision burst rifle, which is what it was supposed to be from the start, but some of you probably still have nightmares about the OG rapid fire AEK. It was absurd. Definitely deserves to be on the list today. At number 14, the Bruin MK9 in Warzone 2020. Raise your hand if you were playing Warzone during the Bruin meta. The LMG was added to Modern Warfare a few months after launch, quickly made a name for itself, 60-round mag attachment, drastically sped up the handling, made it feel more, I would say, like an AR than an LMG. In Warzone, the 60-round Bruin was one of the best guns in the game because it was amazing at mid and long range without weighing you down like a normal LMG normally would, and it took a really long time for it to get nerfed. Eventually, the 60 round was taken down a peg, and it was replaced in the meta by the fan favorite Kilo 141, but if you were playing Warzone during those first few months, you know how dominant the Bruin was. At number 13, let's stick with Warzone. Warzone 2020 to be specific, and the Mac10. Another busted gun. Black Ops Cold War version of the Mac10, top 5 gun for a while, mainly due to the fact that nobody at Raven was in the offices during the Christmas season to patch it up, despite it being overpowered. The fire rate, high. Recoil, low. Base damage, kind of insane for an SMG. Made it one of the best guns in the game at close and mid-range. Now, absolutely everybody was running overkill on their classes, so they could take the Mac-10 in their back pocket, and Raven eventually realized it and had to nerf it. It's probably mid-tier by the time the original Warzone shut down, but when it was first added to the game, I would say it was unreasonably strong. At number 12, the FMG9 in Modern Warfare 3, the original. Now, what happens when you make a machine pistol with an insane fire rate and a 3-shot kill damage profile and an akimbo option? Well, you get one of the most broken secondaries ever. The original akimbo FMGs were totally game-breaking because despite having a near instant time to kill, they were still accurate. They could shred enemy players all the way up to mid-range. Thankfully, the accuracy was nerfed pretty quickly, and they remained a top-tier weapon for close-range combat, which is what they were supposed to be, but I'm always going to remember playing this game early at COD XP and immediately knowing they were going to be a problem. I was right in this case. At number 11, the Striker in Modern Warfare 3 2011. Now, the FMGs we just talked about may have been the most annoying secondary weapon at launch, but the most annoying primary was definitely the Striker shotgun. I mean, it was heavily buffed from the previous Modern Warfare game. It was semi-auto, the ammo capacity was through the roof, pretty high fire rate, no recoil, one-shot capabilities through the roof again. A few weeks after the game came out, it was hit with a hefty 33% damage nerf that toned it down a bit, made it less dominant, but it was still super spammy and annoying, which tells you how strong it was out of the gate. If you were one of the Striker spammers running around the Modern Warfare 3 servers back in the day, we all hated you, but then again, I did it every once in a while just for fun. Now we arrive at the top 10. If you're still here on the video, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you drop a like and make sure you leave a comment. At number 10, had to put the PDW 57 in Black Ops 2 on here. It's honestly crazy how far it fell from grace. SMG, huge magazine, 50 round, I think, an amazing time to kill, super low recoil, generous range. It was a top tier weapon. It was a favorite of the competitive players for the first, I would say, month of Black Ops 2? But once Treyarch stepped in and nerfed it into the ground, you never saw it. Crickets. I mean, that was it. I mean, you didn't see it in casual or ranked. It's one of those cases where a gun went from top tier to the bottom tier overnight, and I still think Treyarch went too far with it. I can understand nerfing an SMG that was this dominant, but making it just a bottom-of-the-barrel tier weapon in its class, I feel like that was kind of cruel. At number 9, the FG42 in COD World War II. There was a time when the FG42 was the most popular gun in the game, at least for competitive. Slow firing, extremely hard hitting, full auto rifle, consistent 3-shot kill, easy to control, but after the first couple pro events, Sledgehammer wised up, decided to nerf it into the ground in order to get some variety on the main stage, and they ended up totally killing the appeal of the gun. The FG42 went from a top-tier rifle to a bottom-tier one, and you basically never saw it again after the infamous nerf. They kept the damage and handling more or less the same, but they drastically slowed down the fire rate. They made it feel like a pea shooter compared to the STG and the BAR. Now, I can agree, the gun needed a nerf, but the update, they probably went too far on one end. But since we're talking about COD World War II and Sledgehammer, let's stick with number 8, the BAR in COD World War II. This may have been one of the fastest nerfs in COD history. It launched as the best gun in the game by a landslide. Received its first nerf, I think, 6 days after COD World War II came out when the game launched. I mean, this thing was crazy. Quick fire rate, laser-like accuracy, no recoil to speak of. Totally broken. Sledgehammer didn't want it to become the new BAL 27, so less than a week after they launched, they patched it to decrease the fire rate and worsen the accuracy. Still a very strong gun after the patch, and they ended up nerfing it a couple more times throughout the life cycle of COD World War II, but the original version of the BAR, whew! At number 7, the 725 in Modern Warfare 2019. I really have no clue to this day why Infinity Ward buffed the 725 so hard in between the Modern Warfare beta and the full release, but they ended up creating a problem. Double barrel shotty, ridiculous one-shot kill range, super quick handling speeds, made it arguably the best gun in the game for close and mid-range combat. Up close, it would delete enemies with a single shot. Mid-range, you could sometimes pull the trigger a second time to drop your target. Infinity Ward had to patch it a couple times, actually a ton of times, to get it more balanced, but for the longest time, people were just running overkill and throwing the 725 in their back pocket on every class. There was no reason not to. At number 6, the DMR 14 in Warzone 2020. Now, sometimes I get nostalgic for the DMR meta of Warzone, even if it was complete insanity. Semi-auto rifle, Black Ops Cold War version, completely busted when it was brought into Warzone, totally took over the game for, I think, probably around 2 months. Could kill in 2 to 3 shots from any distance, it felt like, have a super high fire rate, no recoil, and I'm not kidding when I say this gun took over the game, because when it was at its height of power, its peak, there was no reason to use anything else. It dominated close, mid, across the map. They eventually nerfed it several times because it was legitimately causing people to quit the game. It was that strong. I mean, seriously, look at the footage on the screen. It was insane. Now we arrive at the top 5. The Model 1887 in Modern Warfare 2, the original, had to be here somewhere, right? The 87s were the best video game shotguns the world had ever seen. Not only did it have ridiculous killing power, but then you had the akimbo option. It gave it the power to kill people instantly from any range, to the point people called it a sniper rifle. The 1.07 patch drastically decreased the range of the models, officially ended its reign at the top of the tier list, made way for other monsters, the Spaz 12, the AA 12. It is hard to find videos of the original models since this was back in 2009. But we do have some footage on screen right now, and you should be able to get an idea of why they were so revered. I used to think that this was all because of a bug with the akimbo mode, but it wasn't. It was all in the game code on purpose. Imagine something this strong put in a COD game now. At number 4, the DSR-50 in Black Ops 2. Perhaps the most infamous popular nerf, unpopular nerf, the bolt action. Insane one-shot kill range, quick fire rate, silky smooth handling. Yes, the ADS speed wasn't as quick as the ballista, but that's okay. The one-shot kill range was huge. Nobody cared. Treyarch eventually decided that the DSR was too dominant compared to the ballista, and they decided to make some changes in order to make the two weapons feel more distinct from one another. They wanted the ballista to be the quick but precise sniper rifle. They wanted the DSR to be the slow but powerful methodical sniper rifle, which meant they pushed out the now infamous patch. Drastically slowed down the fire rate of the DSR, and the community was pissed. The DSR was one of the best snipers in COD history before the patch. But after that update, the ballista completely took over the Black Ops 2 sniping scene. You may argue that the nerf was justified, but it was absolutely, this was one of the best pre-patch guns in COD history. Justified or not, there's no denying how many waves this nerf caused. At number 3, the XMC in Black Ops 3, the infamous supply drop remake of the MSMC from Black Ops 2. The XMC was hands down the best gun in Black Ops 3 when it was added to the game if you were lucky enough to get it in the August of 2017, almost 2 full years after the game came out. Now compared to the Black Ops 2 version, the XMC had a faster fire rate, better range values, lower recoil, which made it better long range than some of the other full-size assault rifles in Black Ops 3, while also having one of the best close-range kill times in the game. And, yeah, block behind supply drops, less than a 1% chance of dropping. Treyarch took their sweet time nerfing this thing, but they eventually got around to it. While it's still very powerful, it's nowhere near as broken as it once was. At number 2, the Type 95 in the original Modern Warfare 3. I'm willing to bet most of you totally forgot about the original version of this gun. 3-round burst assault rifle. One of the most overlooked guns in the original Modern Warfare 3 despite the amazing stats. Base damage value of 55. Burst that can fire at over 1,000 rounds per minute. On paper, the Type 95 is still an amazing gun, but when Modern Warfare 3 first dropped, it was the best gun in the game. Yes, it was even better than the ACR 6.8. After a month, a patch was pushed out to nerf the Type 95's accuracy, and you felt it. The damage and fire rate was the same, but it was so much harder to take advantage, which led to people putting it down in favor of other weapons like the ACR and the MP7. But the OG Type 95 was a sight to behold, definitely one of the best burst weapons in COD history. But since we're talking about bullpup burst rifles that broke their multiplayer experiences, we now arrive at number 1 today. The MSBS in Ghost. Entirely broken, absolutely overpowered. It dominated COD Ghost for 2 weeks before it was nerfed into the ground and almost completely disappeared from the meta. I remember back in the early weeks of Ghost, my boy Drifter made an entire video breaking down why the MSBS was so broken, and the basic gist of it was the fact that it was essentially the OG Type 95, but with more attachments and perks. It could delete enemy players with 2 bullets, no recoil. Time to kill was by far the fastest in the assault rifle category and even beat out most of the SMGs. Infinity Ward nerfed it hard. Making a way for another fan favorite ghost gun. You had the Remington, the Honey Badger, the MTAR. They all solidified themselves in the meta, and I'm cool with that. There were some awesome guns in COD Ghost, but we simply never would have used them if the original MSBS never got nerfed. Few guns have ever dominated the way this gun did. I truly think it's the best pre-patch gun in COD history. There you have it. Let me know one gun that didn't make the list that should have. Make sure you get in on that PS5 giveaway that's pinned in the comments below. I'll see you guys soon.